inquiry. Diplomatic personnel and foreign service officials are set to benefit from a training aimed at enhancing their capacities. 80% of children under 5 receive polio vaccination in Uganda amid concerns over refugees bringing in the infection. Well, these and other stories coming ahead in the next hour. I am Fatou Jassi. Thank you for joining us. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, Tuesday launched the Security Sector Reform Project at a ceremony attended by United Nations officials, EU diplomats and senior government officials. The project aims to, among other things, ensure a comprehensive reform of the Gambia security services in order to build and consolidate strong security structures that are political, accountable and responsive to civilian authorities and the people. We hope to bring you that report in our subsequent newscast. Now, officials of the Central Bank of the Gambia Tuesday reappeared before the Commission of Inquiry to answer questions regarding the financial transaction of the National Youth Development Fund. Yolo Jalo reports.
The first to appear before the Janek Commission was the Principal Banking Officer at the Central Bank, Karamo Jawara. The Commission called on him to explain the financial transaction of the National Youth Development Fund, which has 2 accounts at the central bank, one in Dalasi and the other in dollars. Karamo Jawara responded by telling the Commission all the signatories to the accounts and how they were managed.
The Dalasi account, as we already stated, is National Youth Development Fund. The account name has been controlled by Office of the President and was also opened by Office of the President. The total deposit into that account is 158,149,225.36 dollars. The last transaction in that account was 29th of August 2013. With a debit amount of 113,335,154.22. The total withdrawal from that account is 158,149,225.36 dollars.
So the total, all the money in the account was withdrawn. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the closing balance was 0. The last balance that was there, which I read as the last transaction, was a take-on balance into the new account that was opened. So it's a debit transaction here. It will be a credit in the new account.
Another witness called to testify before the Janek Commission was Noah Toure, a former Secretary to Cabinet. Toure shed light on how students secure scholarship at the Office of the President, as well as the financial transaction of the International Gateway account.
What I know is that prospective students would write to the Office of the President seeking His Excellency's sponsorship. And once the request is sent to him, he would decide whether to sponsor or not to sponsor. I don't think I have seen any written or laid down policy with regards to sponsorship.
Now, there was a payment to a bank in Morocco, Bank Populaire, for $280,310.13. And you instructed the withdrawal of the funds with Mr. Sabali.
Yes, it was for the purchase of some red carpets.
Red carpets?
Yes, please.
These are the red carpets that are laid out at the airport, when the President arrived.
Exactly, that's correct.
$280,310 US.
Yes, please.
Do you have any documents confirming what you said? Was it authorized by the President?
What I have here is the invoice and the banking details and the cost. Sorry, of course the invoice has the cost. The invoice and the banking details. Perhaps the approval would be in the file. Because like I said, the instructions, some of the instructions I copied discreetly and at random. Because if you knew I was copying these things, that would have been a different story. I may not have been here today.
More officials are expected to appear before the Janek Commission in subsequent sittings. For GRTS News, this is Yero Jalo reporting.
September 11th marked a turning point in global security as a moment when America came under deadly attack by Al-Qaeda. As the years go by, there has been a relentless war on terrorism. Famara Fofana finds out in this report whether the world and Africa in particular has become a safer place.
It is 16 years now since the devastating attacks on the Twin Towers of New York cast the global attention on Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. No sooner did America taste that dark moment in her history, a vexed President Bush launched a full-blown war on terrorism.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
A lot has changed since then, with bin Laden, the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks, taken out during a well-coordinated operation at his Pakistani hideout in 2011. But is the world a much safer place since then? Abdullah C. Senior, International Affairs Analyst.
I think it has gotten worse. If you look at it, September 11, Al-Qaeda was the most active. Maybe you can add another second contender, the Taliban. But today you have multiple of groups which are all deadly. You have Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, which is an offshoot of the main Al-Qaeda. You have the so-called Islamic State in the Middle East. You have Al-Shabaab in our own area here, that is Africa, in Somalia. You have Boko Haram just next door in Nigeria. And all these groups are wreaking havoc, killing thousands of people.
The approach that is taken, that is the violent approach, attacking and killing, goes only to reinforce the ideology that caused terrorism in the first place.
Terrorism itself can be a somewhat complex subject, blamed on a range of factors depending on one person to another.
It's an ideological battle. The lack of economic justice plays a very huge role in the recruitment of terrorists. Because when people think that they are marginalized, they think that economically they have not been treated fairly, they are poor, and on top of that, most of them lack the basic knowledge of even religion, then that becomes a recipe for, recruiting terrorists.
For a problem that continues to be a thorn in the flesh of even highly sophisticated nations boasting of superior military power, were those that leave continental Africa.
We have a weak system. We have a weak security system. The security apparatus is underfunded, under-equipped, and probably not oriented enough to be able to handle these challenges. Remember, these challenges cannot be handled by only bombs and sophisticated weaponry. You need intelligence gathering, and this is an area where our people are not very alright, because they don't have the sophistication of the West. Never mind, the West is very sophisticated, still they can't stop everything. So the situation in Africa is pretty dangerous. But then, things may not get out of hand if all of us cooperate, like ECOWAS now are working on a regional standby force. In the Sahel, there's already something like that, where Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Mauritania and others are coming together to counter such things. It will be tough, but I know the political will is there, because when militant groups invade a country, or if they are dominant in the country, nobody wins. We all become losers.
We cannot depend on the Western powers.
Far from over. Famara Fofana, GRTS.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad, in collaboration with UNDP, Tuesday opened a 3-day training for Gambian diplomatic personnel and foreign service officials. The training is geared towards enhancing their capacities as diplomatic staff. Aissatou Jatta reports.
The training aims to create a platform where the newly appointed diplomatic personnel and foreign service officers can interact and share experiences in order to become better diplomats, said the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Usainu Dabo.
To note that this training session is unique in that all the resource persons are not only our own citizens, that is not only Gambians, but significantly these are people who have excelled academically and as professional diplomats and have held the highest offices in the foreign service of our country, either as permanent secretaries, ambassadors, or ministers. I am confident that you can benefit immensely from their knowledge and experience in interacting positively with them.
Honorable Dabo stressed the importance of having a competent workforce at the ministry as they served as a link between the government and development partners.
The Office of Foreign Affairs is a strategic and critical institution in the government's march to attain its development objectives. However, for this ministry to be effective in executing its mandate, its personnel must have the requisite skills to deliver effective and quality service to the nation.
Nesi Golakai Good is the Deputy Representative of the United Nations Development Program. She urged participants to value the Sustainable Development Goals.
This new corps of ambassadors who have been nominated to represent Gambia is a reflection of the shifting national context. Underpinning UNDP's core mandate, of course, are the Sustainable Development Goals. And the goal which is of most importance to this training is the SDG 17, Global Partnerships for Development.
The Permanent Secretary, Office of the President, Ibrahim Sise, encouraged the participants to make best use of the program and remain committed to nation building.
It is obvious your role is also critical and complex, and therefore requires a lot of dedications, technical skills, and a lot of creativity. Capacity building is therefore a critical factor for a diplomat and a foreign service officer to remain relevant in this dynamic world.
Ibrahim Mane is the Gambian ambassador designated to the United States of America.
I am also ready to take in anything, any experiences that my other colleagues are going to impart. And I believe at the end of the day, we would have a symbiotic relationship between us on the one hand, we the resource persons, and the participants who are about to be sent to their various postings throughout the world.
For the Gambia to promote and defend her national interest in international arena, she must have seasoned diplomats. It is hoped that by the end of this training, the country's diplomatic force would be a lot stronger. Aisa Tujata, GRTS.
The economic forces in the Gambia are conducting rehearsals ahead of Friday's ECOWAS Peace Medal Award ceremony. The program is designed to recognize the contributions of the forces in restoring democracy in the country. Ibrahim Abalda reports.
He considers himself highly privileged to have been selected to be part of this team. A team that is going out to restore confidence, a team that is going out to promote democratic principles. So we do not expect anything short of what we are hoping you will achieve.
This was how the Nigerian military personnel were sent off on January 18th when the mandate of Yahya Jammeh as president was ending. It was still not clear if the former president was going to hand over power to President-elect His Excellency Adama Barrow in peace. Military convoys swiftly entered various parts of the country on that fateful Friday, January 19th, in a bid to enforce the ECOWAS mandate of restoring democracy in the country, following Yahya Jammeh's U-turn after he initially conceded defeat in the December 1st presidential elections. Gambians who were concerned about the escalating political tensions decided to look the other way, sought refuge in the neighboring countries, hoping that once the situation is normalized, they will return home. They've been here for only 8 months. They came here on January 19 when the mandate of the former president Yahya Jammeh ended, and that ushered in a new mandate for the president-elect, then His Excellency Adama Barrow. but the economic forces are now preparing ahead of the big day on Friday when they will receive medals from the Gambia government. The economic forces on the ground included Senegal, Ghana and Nigeria. They are now warming up ahead of Friday's ECOWAS Peace Medal Award ceremony. Contrary to the information they had when they were preparing to come to the country, the economic public relations officer said upon arrival, the situation was different.
We did not come here to fight. Our operations has been very smooth with the cordial relations that we have with the Gambian Armed Forces and the other Gambian security agencies. We are having a very good working relations, and we are so much happy the way things are going at the moment.
ECOWAS public relations officer said he was hopeful that if ECOWAS pull out of the country, the Gambia security forces will consolidate the gains recorded in the area of peace and political stability.
Gambians have come to accept that the change has happened, and the government is also leading them in the right direction. And that is the assurance they needed. And I think now that that assurance has been established, there is no fear at all. The confidence that the security agencies also require to ensure that they operate smoothly has been provided through the leadership they have now.
The rehearsal is expected to help the economic forces put their acts together and understand what they are required to do when high-profile dignitaries turn up for the ECOWAS Peace Medal Award ceremony. Ibrahim Balde, GRTS News.
Preparations are at an advanced stage for the highly anticipated Dakar Business Networking Forum organized by the Senegalo-Gambia Permanent Secretariat to be held in Dakar, Senegal. The event, as we hear in this report by Momodou Njai, has great potentials to explore business opportunities that exist between the two nations.
After postponing the long-awaited Senegalo-Gambia Business Networking Forum scheduled to take place in Dakar, the Senegalo-Gambia Permanent Secretariat, under His Excellency Ambassador Paul Badji, convened a press briefing to inform the public about the forthcoming sub-regional event, which is set to take place on October 5th and 6th in Dakar, Senegal. The decision to postpone the event was
civil society organization here present, the Senegalo-Gambian Association for Integration and Development in Senegambia. We are organizing this forum. We have already invited, I would say, 400 participants, 200 from the first official visit of
or to register and capitalize on this maiden event. The Secretariat assured Gambian participants of the office's readiness to harmonize Gambian and Senegalese businesses through the Dakar Forum.
It's an opportunity for Gambian businesses. It's an expose which we believe that the Gambia, interacting with the Senegalese and their counterparts in both the public and private sector, they will be able to do a lot of business that will be of common interest to both nations. That's the reason why the Secretariat is established, and that's what the Secretariat is forging to make it happen come October 5th and then 6th.
The Dakar Networking Forum, now slated for October 5th and 6th, is expected to open a new page in deepening the economic ties between the Gambia and Senegal. Momodou Njai, GRTS.
We take our first break now. Sports is up next. To stay with us.
Is here, and QCell has a great way for fans to follow their favorite teams. QCell's Q Football gives you live updates of your favorite teams, games, including all the goals, scorers, red cards, and more. Whether your team plays in the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, European, or the Champions League, you will never miss a moment with Q Football service. For live updates, you send your team's name to 411 during a match, and you will receive a live match event. You can also send your team's name to 511 to get 1 month news and updates as they happen. For more information, call our customer care on 111. Q Football Service. Keep up with the action. Football. QCell. Soon you see me.
Welcome back. In sports, Farato United has been crowned champions of South Kombo after beating Batokunku 1-0 in the final. Boubacar Sibi's late winner was enough to secure Farato the Beruleng-sponsored trophy. Momodo S. Diallo tells us more.
This is the giant Beruleng-sponsored trophy which both Farato village and Batokunku want to clinch as the two villages contest the South Kombo district football crown. The two teams faced each other for the second time after the first encounter was abandoned midway into the second period when this ugly incident happened during the game. The crowd trouble forced the game to be cancelled. The organizers decided to replay the final and change the venue from Sanyang to the Jambanjeli football field, where the two villages rekindled their unfinished business. Both Farato, seen here in blue, and Batokunku wants to be the district champions. Fans of the two sides made the trip to Jambanjeli and were in confident mood. While the two sets of fans rivaled each other off the pitch, on the pitch it was a tough battle. A slow start from both sides soon turned into a fierce contest, but the first half wasn't very entertaining, with neither side able to stamp its authority on the game. Much of the play was concentrated in midfield, limiting the first half to just few chances. Both teams stepped up their game in the second period, but chances were still few. Farato, who were favourites, managed to grab a late winner, with the game seemingly heading to penalty kicks. Boubacar Sibi snatched a late winner with a fine strike with few minutes remaining, and the Farato fans stormed the pitch in wild celebrations. The goal came at a very bad moment for Batokunku, who had little time to equalize, and despite a late surge, Farato held on to win 1-0.
This is very, very important for the village because this is a stepping stone for third division qualifiers. This same team is participating in the third division qualifiers by the end of the year. So it's very good in building the confidence of the players and thinking that they can do it.
It's the first time for Batokunku to go for a final, so we are trying to go for a third division qualification so that we can reach at the second division.
Several individual awards were presented to some of the most outstanding players of the tournament, with the Farato Fans Club also scooping the Best Fan Award and Farato also winning the Best Players Award. Batokunku, who narrowly missed out on their first district title, received a consolation prize, whilst Farato were crowned champions of the Beruleng-sponsored South Kombo football tournament with a cash prize of $15,000.
Farato are the kings of South Kombo District Football Tournament, and as you can see, they are already partying, and I know they are going to party well into the night. They are worthy winners. Momodo S. Diallo, GRTS Sports, at the Jambanjeli football field.
Moving out to an earlier mentioned preamble, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, Tuesday launched the security sector project reform at a ceremony attended by United Nations officials, EU diplomats, and senior government officials. The project aims to, among other things, ensure comprehensive reform of the Gambia security services in order to build and consolidate strong security structures that are political, accountable, and responsible to civilian authorities and the people. Momodo Diallo reports.
Some of the security services took a step closer to reality this afternoon with the launching of a UN-funded program that is expected to significantly overhaul the structure and operations of the Gambia security services. President Barrow has made no secret of his desire of a highly professional, disciplined and non-political security apparatus that is subordinate to civilian authority. Speaking at the launching ceremony, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Adama Barrow, said the reform process has clear objectives, which would ultimately allow his government to realize one of its top priorities.
The key objectives include the development of an inclusive national security strategy for the Gambia and the implementation of a coherent and coordinated framework of support for the implementation of the SSR interventions.
The role of the security services had come under intense scrutiny under former President Jammeh's rule for its perceived overt political subservience to him. They are often seen by the public and the political opposition as an instrument of terror and repression, heavy-handed and zealously working to entrench the dictatorial regime of the former military strongman. It is this image that government is keen to change in order to restore trust and confidence.
We did not find any policy on security. No structured policy on security. The only policy in place was one that was intended to entrench a dictatorship based on the principle of fear and the exercise of the rule of fear. That is why, Your Excellency, today is a milestone. It is a milestone because our government, under your able leadership and guidance, seeks to comprehensively eliminate the reckless distortions that bedevil security sector governance for more than 2 decades. Today we seek to restore the balance and resolve long-term challenges in the security sector.
The United Nations, ECOWAS, the European Union and other development partners have been instrumental in getting this process off the ground. Representatives of these bodies expressed their commitment to ensure that the Gambia continues on the transition to a stable democratic country with strong and functional state institutions.
Today marks a very important milestone in the restoration of the democratic process in the Gambia, starting with the security sector, which is a key component in governance. Following the history of the Gambia for the past 22 years, one would have expected that the Gambia would have been institutionalized with all governmental bodies working properly and in line with internationally accepted best practices and norms. Unfortunately, this was not the case.
The Gambia's stability is also important to the regional stability in West Africa and in Africa as a whole. The reform of the security sector is therefore a key priority to stabilizing democracy in country and Gambia becoming a human rights champion as an art.
By embarking on a comprehensive reform of its security sector, the government of the Gambia has made the choice of strengthening justice and security institutions to render them accessible and responsive to the needs and rights of all women, men, girls, boys, the entire Gambian population.
The $3 million project is funded by the United Nations and will last 18 months. The security services sector reform is part of a package of reforms introduced by government with the ultimate objective of restoring state institutions which had all but collapsed following 22 years of APRC rule. Mohamed Jallo, GRTS News.
Over now to internationals. In Uganda, a 3-day door-to-door immunization exercise against polio has ended with over 80% of children under 5 receiving the vaccine. The country last reported a case of polio 7 years ago, but concerns have grown recently over refugees from the DR Congo and South Sudan bringing the infection into the country. Seyetian has more.
Health workers say the house-to-house polio vaccination campaign has achieved its goal. Parents were more receptive than in 2015 when such an exercise was conducted.
It's good that my child has been immunized. She's now safe and will grow up healthy. Imagine I would have gone to hospital, but they've found me home.
In the past, polio campaigns have been rejected by some parents. Many have been concerned about the side effects of the vaccination, while others feel it's simply unnecessary.
Sometimes we just don't feel like it because first of all, like we immunize the kids when they are young, and then someone just comes up, tells you we need to immunize, yet her immunization card is full already, marked and what? We don't really understand that.
Stella is now a happy mother. Her baby is now free from polio, but not all parents believe that just 2 drops of the vaccine can keep babies safe, and that's what this campaign is out to fight. Uganda's Ministry of Health says the campaign aims to prevent the reintroduction of the polio virus from neighboring countries. About 70 districts are high risk. Most of these districts are within refugee hosting areas.
With the exception of a few cases where I think due to inadequate information about the whole exercise and probably about the polio vaccine, they tried to give us a bit of hard time. Open your mouth.
More than $2 million has been spent on the campaign alone. much of it coming from the World Health Organization and UNICEF. Uganda was declared polio-free by the WHO, but a relapse of polio cases as a result of the influx of refugees is threatening its status. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
And that brings us to the end of the news, but before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's main stories. President Adam Barrow has launched the Security Sector Reform Project, which seeks to ensure a comprehensive reform of the country's security services. A senior official of the Central Bank of the Gambia has reappeared before the ongoing Commission of Inquiry. Diplomatic personnel and foreign service officials are set to benefit from a training aimed at enhancing their capacities. 80% of children under 5 are receiving polio vaccination in Uganda amid concerns over refugees bringing in the infection. Well, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company, and do have a very pleasant evening.
Hey, Nden. You look tense. I mean, what's up?
I can't help it. The internet